नमस्ते Maria ji. आप कैसे हो?
मैं तो ठीक हूँ.
So as you can see, I'm here with very legendary Maria Worth ji. I first came across Maria Worth ji on Twitter and have been very influenced and very impressed with the work that she's doing on there. I'm sure many of you are aware she publishes many outstanding articles about Hinduism, her love for Hinduism, trying to help Hindus to regain their confidence and to question why it is that there are some forces acting against them. And ultimately we have in common that we are outsiders trying to make sense of this situation and trying to give our understanding, our perspectives. Maria ji very kindly invited us to come and meet her. So we're just having an informal conversation at the moment and allowing you some glimpses into that. So first, Maria ji, thank you so much again for allowing us into your house here in Dehradun. It's really beautiful. It's right in the lap of nature. Just in front of me, we have just forest of trees. So how long have you been staying in Dehradun?
Actually, it's not my house. I rented just 2 rooms in this house, and I'm very grateful to my landlord. He built such a beautiful place, and I can be here. I'm here already now since 17 years, and it's an ideal place to be quiet and to write. But still, I think your introduction was a little bit too good.
No, not at all.
No, I really feel my only contribution is that I tell what I think, what I feel is right. So then when sometimes people are so surprised or say, oh, thank you so much, I say, there's nothing special. Even when you called me and said you want to meet me, I said, actually, there's nothing special about me. I mean, why should you come actually to take the trouble? So in this way, I am really sometimes very much surprised. But my heart is very much for India. Your heart, I think, also, and there are so many foreigners actually who feel like us, because I meet many who don't understand anything about India. They take the yogas, they take even spirituality, but they don't like India as much. I was once in Rishikesh and somebody made comments about India, and I said, actually, what you want is you like India, but you would like India without Indians. And she said, actually, that is true. Oh. So, I mean, we have also to see that there are different types of persons who come here, but when you go a little deeper into India, when you just see the surface, then it's not easy to discover the beauty. I mean, you had the chance through your husband that you got very much into it. Maybe you can tell also.
Absolutely, yes.
How you started to love India so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I must admit, I think even the first time I stepped into Bharat, I just felt like a magic from the ground almost. And I think it was partly that it feels in India that everything is alive, like life is everywhere. And it made me realise that back home in the UK, life is quite grey. And it's not just like the colour of clothes people wear. People, when you go on the underground, everyone's wearing black and blue and grey. You come to India and everyone's wearing every colour that there is in the rainbow. And people celebrate life a lot more. In the UK, yes, people have parties and things, but they have parties to get drunk and to almost move away from life, I feel. Whereas here, they come and they celebrate life, and it just made me feel so alive. So I think I'm very grateful to India for making me feel like a new level of aliveness. And then obviously getting to know Hinduism, initially through my husband, but then on my own journey now, and getting to appreciate a new philosophy, a very deep, a very intellectual, a very stimulating philosophy. Again, it made me realise that the way I saw the world before, the way I saw my role in the world, my part of life. It was very superficial, I guess. Now it's a lot, I have a much deeper understanding of the world, of life, of purpose, and it really is very beautiful. But even now, it's still scratching the surface. I realise I have so many millions of miles of knowledge still to discover and learn, and that's really exciting. Whereas before, things were very black and white. I think when you come from a Christian philosophy, things are very black and white. In Hinduism, very little is black and white. Everything is a voyage of discovery. You know, when you realize one thing, it opens up a whole other world of other things to understand, and I just find that really magical. Yes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
When I'm in Germany, sometimes I feel it's really empty.
Empty, yes, that's a good way of putting it.
And the reason why they put India down so badly is, I feel, because they don't want people to know that Indians actually are far more better off, in the sense, life-wise, if I can say like this. And life is much more full.
Yes.
And they don't want us in the West to know this, because we have a very dreary life in a sense. No? The only enjoyment is you go to a restaurant, or you go maybe to a concert, or street festivals, but it's also superficial. And what is lacking is wisdom. And when you said just now, you grow up in a Christian philosophy, I wouldn't call it even philosophy.
No, that's true.
It's a doctrine.
Yes.
It's a doctrine which has to be believed blindly. And we are so much herded into it like shepherds. I remember when I was in church as a child, on the Sundays before elections, there would be read the shepherd's letter. And the shepherd's letter means the bishop's letter. And they would tell us what to vote for. So not really the party by name, but they made it very clear which party, the Christian Democrats. So we are very used to being kind of herded in a way. And some of us break out. Some of us break out in a sense that we don't believe it anymore. But I feel sometimes what Christianity does is it spoils a belief into a higher power. We are so allergic against the word God even. We don't want God. Even when I came to India, if somebody talked to me about God, I felt like, please don't talk to me about God. And then I was in India, and right in the very beginning, I met a photographer, actually quite well-known photographer at that time, the Bedi brothers. And when I was introduced to them, and when I said goodbye, then one of them told me, and don't forget about God. So this was, how is it possible, at that time we were both young person, already quite successful, very Western oriented in a way, speak so matter-of-factly about God. Does he really exist? So at that time I wanted to find out. I have to find out what is meant by God. Of course it took me much time then because the mind is quite, in the Bhagavad Gita it says also, speedy like the wind. It's not so easy to focus on a question, but I wanted to know the truth. And this was guiding me very much. And I told you just before, in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, I found a very interesting sentence. It was said in Satya Yuga, tapas is the best sadhana. And you read also in the Puranas and that people were doing 100 years of tapas, 1,000 years of tapas. So, and then it said in Kali Yuga, the best sadhana is telling the truth. So then I thought, if this is now sadhana, it's a very easy sadhana. So, and I think there's one thing which came very naturally to me, and it is speaking the truth. Even my mother told me that she was astonished when I was a child. Once she called me, I was playing with a neighbor's child, and she called me back for lunch. And then after lunch, she said, now you don't go back to play with my friend. And then she said, I was looking very sad, and she said, what is wrong? Why? And he said, but I have told her already I'm coming again. That means I have told a lie. So this stuck with her also, and this speaking truth is very important for me. So it comes rather easy, and sometimes people say, look, it's maybe dangerous even. Then I say, it can't be dangerous. I mean, speaking the truth must be allowed, no? So in this way, I what I write is not. Of course, I have now reached quite an age also, so I have more experience and I have read more. And when you are 20, you couldn't have read as much as I have read now, and you wouldn't know as much maybe. But otherwise, my only contribution is that I speak the truth in this.
Yes, very good, and we're very grateful for it. And we're hoping that you will speak out about the truth even more. Obviously, you're very active on Twitter. You've written your book. And your latest piece of work is actually the petition that you've created. So perhaps you can tell us a bit more about that.
In fact, even since 2016, I was at the Ujjain Kumbh Mela, and even before that, but at the Ujjain Kumbh Mela, there was a Vichar Kumbh, and I put in a paper where I suggested that Hindus, Buddhists, everybody who is not Christian or Muslim, should object to this unacceptable labeling of Hindus as kafirs and as heathen, as idol worshippers, because I know from experience that you must be also knowing, that when you are a child and you grow up in Christianity and you heard of heathen, of course they were not equal to us, they were inferior. So when I came to India, I realized this is so much superior. Hindu philosophy nobody has proven it wrong. And also, what I realized is this: when Christianity and Islam say there's only one God, this concept comes from here. Here is originally the Vedas say all is Brahman. And it makes much more sense when you say all is Brahman. It means Brahman in the form of Ishvara became all this. No? And it's not like Christianity and Islam who say God is somewhere and he watches each one of us and he told only some 2000 years ago or some 1400 years ago, he told one person only how we should live.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense.
All the millions of people who lived before Jesus arrived, they all went to hell because Jesus hadn't arrived by then. It makes no sense.
And that's why they also pushed so long this idea. The earth is 6,000 years old.
Yes.
They have traced back the kings in the Bible, and then they came to the position, I think, 4006 before Christ or so. No? 6,000 years old is the earth, and because they didn't want humanity to know that maybe Christianity is not the ultimate truth, or Islam is not the ultimate truth. And they say you must not criticize it because it is the word of God. Now there are two words of God. Christianity and Islam, they both claim we alone are true. Now the Vedas are so much more ancient, and they have such deep philosophy. And why is it not possible that people look at this unbiased? And if you look at it unbiased, you come to the conclusion, this is the truth.
Yes. It's very logical.
We have been, and when Voltaire said, Mark Twain, all these people, they said, greatest pain is religion. I mean, they meant usually Christianity because they were confronted with this. Now, Islam is in the same mold like Christianity. They also have one person who knows the truth only. And Islam is a little bit more forceful even because they push you stronger 5 times a day to pray is wonderful. Please, by all means, do it. And even it's good to accept a great power. I feel this is natural. Even atheists, they would come to this conclusion, there must be something. How can there be, out of nothing, nothing comes. No? So there must be something. What this something is, find out. So I feel if they they would come to this conclusion that there is a God. And as I said, in Hinduism, the ultimate oneness is there. Even this one it's like an ocean, and the waves on it are the forms. And we all are different forms, but like the ocean, the wave is nothing but ocean.
Mm.
And when the form goes, the ocean is still full.
Yes.
Nothing is lost. So there's also no need, there are so many good things in Hindu Dharma, like you need not be afraid of death. You are not dying actually.
Mm.
And this, when they talk so badly about karma, say, oh, the Hindus, what you said just before, no? When you said, my mother knows only, oh, the Hindus, if somebody has a deformity, they think it is his karma, it is his own fault. Maybe, it is possible, it is karma, but it doesn't mean that you don't help.
Mm.
And we are all in this world of form, we are very different. But from Hindu philosophy, we have so many chances. That is not the only world.
Mm.
Like in Christianity, we have this problem, how is it possible that God is so unjust? Why is somebody poor? Why is somebody rich? Why is somebody beautiful? Why is somebody not? No? So in this way, yes, in this life you play this role. Imagine you are on a stage, you play this role to the best of your possibility, even if it is like cleaning the streets. If you have no other option, do it well.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with it. It would need respect from others. I don't mean there should be discrimination in society, but there are different jobs to be done in a society. There's never complete equality. No? Imagine everybody wants to become a pilot. So what society would we have? Not possible. No? So in this way, there's so much which speaks in favor of Hindu Dharma. And I came away from the petition, but
that's fine. We'll return to it because it struck me that you were talking about how the petition arose out of your feeling that Hindus almost have been relegated to being inferior, and there's all these words that are used by Christianity and Islam to make sure they are put down all the time, so heathen, kafir, etc. But I was just thinking just then that maybe that's almost like a technique that they've produced to deflect from their own deficiencies, from all the inequalities that exist within their own faiths, because even within their own faiths you have all these strata of people being more or less inferior or superior. And I was just thinking of my Christian friends back in the UK, because recently many of them have been getting married, and a few of them are very strong Christians, and at the wedding ceremonies the priest would be like praising them for their missionary work and how they are leading these non-believers to the light. And at the same time I'm thinking, okay, here is a couple where my friend, the girl, she is making a promise to the man that she will always obey him no matter what. Her professional day work, she refuses to be promoted because she feels that a woman cannot give instructions to a man. How is that, we're not saying it's not philosophy, that doctrine, how it can leading Hindus into that fold be enlightenment? It's so illogical to me. So I think that's a really good example of where Hindus should, instead of just accepting that for being as it is and maybe almost like idolizing that, they should step back and think, no, logically, they are not leading us into light. They are leading us into darkness. Hinduism is the superior philosophy here, an actual philosophy, not a doctrine, not a dogma. And I think that's one of the issues you're trying to bring about with the petition, actually. It's not just to raise awareness of use of these derogatory terms, but actually to make Hindus almost wake up and think, okay, don't just accept things as blindly as you have been about Islam and Christianity and what they say on the surface. Actually start to question some of these things that just actually do not make sense. Yes, so perhaps you could just tell us a bit more, yes, about why were you motivated to create this petition?
Well, I felt it should have been done long ago. I mean, I was so surprised that you don't object, that you are so kind to Christianity and Islam. And I brought out in some of my articles also, look, this is not reciprocated. Just be open, see it. You say we respect all religions, they will never say, because they cannot.
No.
So they are told this alone is a truth, no proof. And this mindset is very narrow.
So Maria G, I'm sure you're very aware that there's a narrative out there that, particularly from Hindus, that all religions are the same, that we should be very accepting of all religions. But that seems a very one-way street always. So perhaps you could share your thoughts, your experiences of that being a one-way street, of Christianity and Islam not having shared respect for Hinduism. Have you got any examples perhaps you can reflect on?
What I noticed is that Hindus are very shy of talking in a critical way or in an open way about Christianity and Islam. Now, one reason can be that they just don't know better, because they were in school and they heard only the positive aspects.
Yeah.
There's one Arun Chauri's book, Eminent Historians, as an example given, that fifth class students learn that Islam and Christianity are the only religions which treat the human being with dignity and equality. Can you believe? So when I came to know these things, I felt very bad, and I feel, look, you don't know that we, if I consider myself now a Christian, which I'm not, but that we don't respect you. Actually, we are taught from childhood onwards that you are inferior, and Muslim children also, because you did not accept the true God. You must have heard it also. No? So I remember when in school we were praying for the poor heathen children in India when once a missionary came, so that they also hear of dear Jesus and are also saved like we are saved. Can you believe? As small children in primary school, I remember it. I don't know why, but this. So Hindus, it may be one aspect that they are not aware of the negative points, and also that over these 1,000 years they got very much intimidated. They couldn't really put their head up without risking, especially under Muslim rule. It was very dangerous for them. So this attitude probably has resulted in not wanting to talk about religion, and also not wanting, is it allowed? Will I get arrested for it or what? But if you are talking well-meaning, if you try to find out the truth, how can it be dangerous? So I just tell you one example. I keep talking, whether it is Hindu or Muslim, I mean, I keep talking to frankly what I think. So once I was in a bookshop, and one gentleman came up to me, and I don't know who he was older to me, and he was saying, how do you like Modi? So I said, I like him. So he looked a little surprised, but probably because many foreigners are against Modi, strangely, because of the media. So then he said, why? So I said, because he has done a lot for the poor. But also, I said, he doesn't go all out to appease Muslims. Because if a Muslim follows strictly what the Quran asks him to do, he becomes a terrorist. So he said, I am a Muslim. So I said, do you agree with me? Then he said, I have read the Quran and there's no violence in it. No, it meant either he had not read it, or he's telling another lie. I mean, first is also a lie. I have read the Quran, there's no violence in it. Then I quoted some smites their necks, cuts their fingertips. Terrible things to quote, unfortunately. Then he didn't react, but a Hindu gentleman, he was listening to us. Meanwhile, he stood by the side. He so far didn't interject. He suddenly comes in and says, no. Quran says, if you live in a country, you have to follow the law of the country. Then I told him, look, this is valid only as long as you are not strong enough. And what I thought, I didn't tell him, but it's not his business to to defend Islam, especially if he doesn't know it, and if there is Abu Bakr, the ISIS founder, who is an expert in Islam. I mean, let him define what is Islam. No? So I went back to Sister, I addressed him again and I said, do you go to the mosque? So he said, no, I don't go to the mosque. I found out later he was a lawyer earlier. He retired, older. So he said, no, I don't go to the mosque. So I said, that means you're a bad Muslim. He kind of didn't reply, but kind of smiled a little. And then I said, do you agree with me that a bad Muslim is a better human being? So he kind of had the Indian agreement. So what I felt is, there must be many Muslims who are not comfortable really with what is happening. Of course, in India at present, still it is very advantageous to be a Muslim. If you do something good, you will come immediately in the newspaper. I mean, it is like this, no? Or you have scholarships and you get Hajj subsidy, and this is what I feel is not advantageous, because it helps the mullahs. It doesn't help those who want to get out.
So back to the petition again. We've meandered a bit around it, haven't we? So perhaps you could just tell us, like, really concretely, what is the petition about? What are you hoping to get out of it? What have you done with it so far?
Actually, I heard first about Pakistan petitioning the United Nations, IOC petitioning the United Nations, Saudi Arabia, some years ago already. It goes on since 10 or 20 years. They are petitioning the United Nations to ban criticism of Islam, which is impossible, incredible. And now it's more about Islamophobia, to ban Islamophobia, which is already for many people a ban which they put on themselves. Nobody talks about it openly anymore, so this is one point. So I felt Hindus have such much better case, and I was surprised that they haven't done it. It is unacceptable that both Christian and Muslim children are taught that Hindus are inferior. And they are called kafirs, which is a derogatory term, and heathen, idol worshipper. So this is very dangerous, because it leads to hate crime and even to genocide. Recently, a UN official on the Holocaust Day, he was mentioning that the Holocaust of the Jews did not start with gas chambers. It started with hate speech. For centuries, the Jews have been defamed as the killers of Jesus. And they were killed, and it was a genocide. And sometimes I have a friend who knows very much the evangelical scene in America. And she tells me that Hindus, especially Brahmins, have been so much defamed, so much dehumanized, that if there would be a genocide, especially of Brahmins in India, most people would think they deserve it. And it is so dangerous, because it is absolutely engineered. There's no truth in it. The whole world can learn from India. It is a key for harmonious existence. Even I thought recently, George Soros, he wants this world without borders. We should tell him, look, it's actually possible. Now, once coronavirus goes out, but it is possible but only one condition has to be there. The condition is humanity has to follow the Hindu mindset, not the narrow, dogmatic, divisive mindset of only we have the truth and you go to hell. This has to stop. And one more point, Christianity has no hesitation to say, look, we have to make the whole world for Jesus. Islam has no hesitation to say, we have to make the whole world for Allah. It's in our book, we have to do it. what prevents Hindus to say, look, we have to make the whole world accept the truth. Let's debate about truth. It's okay. Worshipping God, fine. Everybody has a right. That is a right to religious freedom. But you cannot claim about this God what it is, that he hates me and he loves you. That has no basis. It is not true. And this has to stop. And this Hindus can demand. They have the truth, they have the knowledge, they have the wisdom. And I am really grateful that I'm in India and that I discovered this wisdom also.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Maria G. That's been an absolute honour to interview you, and I hope you found that equally interesting. As I'm sure you know, Maria G. She's very active on Twitter. Please do follow her and purchase her book. Thank You India, available at garudabooks.com. Read her articles. They are really inspiring. They present the case very, very clearly, crystal clear. So do please read them, share them with your friends, share them with your acquaintances.